Good afternoon, dear journalists. I will start with very important things for our country and for security. The Minister of Internal Affairs, Ihor Klimenko, has just told me about the attack on Ukrainian journalist Yuri Makarov. The attack was a blow with a knife. Thank God Mr. Makarov is alive. The knife remained in place. There is an expertise in Ukraine. I work as an investigator in Europe. One of the versions is that it happened because of his professionalism in exposing Russia's war against Ukraine. But I think that the ministry and the national police will have a more detailed explanation. We wish him to recover as soon as possible. Our second team is working in Paris today. I had a conversation with President Macron today about the meeting of European teams and representatives of the United States of America. We agreed on the same understanding. First, we have the same views on the actions that are taking place, including diplomatic actions. We are discussing on the level of the NSA 4 countries of security guarantees. There are Britain, France, Ukraine, and Germany. There was such a meeting. And there is such a meeting. Next, there is a meeting on the level of the Minister of Defense. We have a team of foreign affairs ministers, the head of the office and the Minister of Defense on the Ukrainian side. The Minister of Defense works with the Minister of Defense of France. They have separate meetings. Next, there is a meeting of foreign affairs ministers of 4 countries. And there will be a meeting of all together, including the representative of the United States of America, Mr. Witkow. Our position on the meeting is that we are discussing a contingent of security guarantees and the relevant coalition, which you know about. This is our separate work. We are also discussing ceasefire issues, ceasefire explosions from the Russian side, in our opinion. I don't know how their meeting will end. We will hear from all sides and we will know all the details. We have discussed with President Macron that my team and his team do not have a mandate to discuss the territory of Ukraine, and their mandate, which I gave them, is to discuss the issue of ceasefire, including different formats. The desire for a full ceasefire is unconditional. But it is also possible to discuss the unconditional ceasefire on civil infrastructure, energy, the sea. That's what we're talking about. In other words, in different formats, we all agreed that Ukraine is ready for an unconditional ceasefire, as we declared more than once after the proposal of the United States of America. We can talk about something else now. I would just like to say the main theses that I would like to say. I had an important message from head of the Masaryk Committee today. I would like to thank and congratulate the armed forces of Ukraine, our security and defense forces. Today, the Russian Federation advanced in the direction of Pokrovsk, in the east of our state. Most of its 14 brigades were hit by the National Guard, or 117th Brigade. Also, Ukraine destroyed today, preparing for this advance. Ukraine completely destroyed this whole group of people. It was one down 15 units of equipment, 200 killed, and 30 wounded. We thank the armed forces for their service. Yesterday evening, they attacked in the Zaporizhzhia direction. The enemy lost 80 people in Zaporizhzhia, 82, 117, 340 units of equipment. This is what we told our partners. There, Russia will make several waves of attacks in the Simsky, Kharkiv, Zaporizhzhia direction, and possibly in the east, because they did not advance there for a long time. It is very important that the Ukrainian forces met them. It is very important that this was not unexpected. Next, two important packages of sanctions will be introduced tomorrow by the Kremlin's propagandists and the Skander rocket manufacturers. Our team is now working with the American team online on the memorandum on the use of nuclear weapons. Right now, I can also tell you about the details. The important information is not very pleasant. We finally received information that China is supplying weapons to the Russian Federation. We are ready to talk about this in detail. Today we have general information from the security service, from intelligence, about artillery gunpowder. I think we will be able to talk about this in great detail next week, especially about the data that we believe that China is producing some weapons in Russia.
Thank you for this opportunity. Halina Ostapovets, Novy Naleyev. I have a question. Your position. You must have heard the statement of Vytkov after his talks with Putin. He said that the agreement on 5 Ukrainian territories was being considered. What do you know? What are we really ready to do in this regard? And how far are we now from the agreement on a comprehensive ceasefire? Thank you.
Thank you very much. As I told you, today we are discussing an unconditional ceasefire. And before the ceasefire, we are not discussing the territories. You know my position and our red lines. First of all, we will never recognize the Ukrainian territories as Russian. Third, I believe that Mr. Vytkov has adopted the strategy of the Russian side. I think it is very dangerous because he consciously or unconsciously spreads Russian narratives. In any case, it does not help. And I do not see his mandate to discuss Ukrainian territories, because our people's territories belong to our people, and not only to us, but to future Ukrainians. Therefore, I do not understand what he is talking about. That is, we have heard all this, but we have heard it all as Mr. Putin's nonsense. I did not think that he had the right people who continue these narratives, spread them in other civilized countries. Therefore, I do not take this seriously. As for the comprehensive ceasefire, Ukraine is ready to support it. We support it. We believe that Russia is not ready, because they are interested, as we said, to make several waves of attacks. They want to capture more square kilometers for themselves, because this is how they treat us. They consider us as square kilometers. And they want to raise the degree and more attacks. I believe that we will see this in different formats. In offensive attacks, what we see in missile attacks, they will play this situation as much as possible, so that at the moment of the final negotiations, they will strike in a stronger position. This is what they do. The closer President Trump will be to serious sanctions and serious steps on the Russians, because at least they will not support the position of the comprehensive ceasefire, the weaker, the closer we will be to the ceasefire. I think so. It depends on it.
Thank you, Safronova Olesya Bloomberg. I have a question about the mineral treaty. Tell me, please, Is it discussed in the context of the Mineral Treaty, now with the United States, the use of the Ukrainian gas transport system, in particular, the pipes? And does Ukraine allow, for example, the renewal of transit through our gas transport system? And does the American side insist on this? Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, what is the state of our talks? The technical meeting was really productive and positive. I think it's good. The technical meeting was in various formats, offline in the United States and online as well. Yesterday and today they are working. Our first Deputy Prime Minister is working with the Basant team, and with Basant directly. The American side has returned us to the first steps, as it was. You know that we all worked on a serious agreement. We started working on which one should go to Parliament, and the corresponding procedures should be followed, and the lawyers should work so that it would be a success for both states. And so the technical meeting of the teams was positive, because we see how the parties go to meet each other. A couple of days ago, the American side proposed to return to one more step, while the lawyers are working on the agreement. This is a memorandum of intentions. We have positive, constructive intentions, and we show it. So the memorandum of intentions, not the agreement itself, but the memorandum of intentions can be signed online today. Our side said okay. Now the American side. As far as I understand, the Deputy Prime Minister is now working with the American side on the text. But honestly, I think it's a memorandum. It's important. The first step. Why don't you agree with both countries? You didn't talk about the pipe. Although I think that if we can talk about it actively, we can talk about it. And not about the fact that the Russians will have their own gas and will earn money in the war. We have talked many times. There is another gas. There are other countries. Please, if there are any proposals, let's return to it. But you see that no one is returning to this topic yet. The Americans have not pushed us anywhere, let's be honest.
Tetiana Pasova, Ukraine Forum. Mr. President, in an interview with CBS, you said that Ukraine is ready to buy the Patriot systems. But is the American side ready to sell them? Or maybe other partners are ready to sell them. Is there a response from the American administration? Thank you.
As for the Patriot system, we understand that it is a big deficit and a big problem. Here I look at it as a part of the security guarantee for our country. And for example, the United States of America, which could really, from the point of view that they are the owners of licenses, the owners of this brand, could guarantee Ukraine the Patriot system. And Ukraine is ready to buy them, to buy at least 10 systems. I told President Trump about this minimum during our phone conversation. He told me that the United States will work on it. I don't know yet. Apart from that, I have no other information. We understand how many such systems there are in the Middle East, in which countries. We have separate conversations. And we also understand how many systems there are in Europe, in the United States, in some Asian countries. We are looking for the right systems everywhere. But if we look at the broader context of the security guarantee for Ukraine, where we are talking about the contingent, even after the end of the war, or I would say not after the end of the war, but during the announcement of a complete ceasefire, it would be very good to have the appropriate systems. We are ready to buy. I have separate dialogues with Europeans, because it's a lot of money. If America is ready to sell them to us, I did not accidentally tell the President of the United States, we are ready to buy. Because I have a dialogue with some countries, and they will help Ukraine with financing.
Hello, Mr. President. My name is Victoria Lukavenko, Agence France Press. Actually, I have a question about the energy truce. Ukraine sets a date for the beginning of 25th March. So, almost a month has passed. First, how many times has Russia violated this truce? And second, will this truce be completed on 25th April, according to Ukraine? And what will be the state of affairs after this date? Thank you.
We have negotiated with the United States of America and confirmed that we are ready to their proposal on the 25th. Indeed, almost a month ago. And the Russians talked about something else. Although I believe that what they promised the United States of America about us is not true. Because even the ceasefire that they promised, which we did not accept, although you know that we were ready for any construction, but even that they violated. They proposed something and violated it themselves with the first blows to Kherson, to the energy of our country. I do not know how many times, but this is not a problem. How many times have they violated? A large number of times. But what is important is that we worked with our partners in the following format. I asked the Foreign Service, along with the regulators, to send this to the United States of America in detail every time Russia violates. To be honest, we saw the document that the Russians sent to the United States of America, Lavrov sent them, that we beat on their energy, which does not correspond to reality, although they write something there, invent something, but they are creative. Yes, in this sense. That's all. I do not think that... Look at the situation. They reduce the blows on the energy. This is a fact. But I would like us to pay attention to this. Russia did not reduce the number of blows, and this was their strategy. That is, they reduced to cover up, to show that they beat less on Ukrainian energy, but they used the same number of drones every day, without reducing them, and the same number of missiles, including ballistic ones. They use our infrastructure in blows. Reducing on energy, they beat on other civil infrastructure, and so you should understand, as only in one, I do not know, 18th, 20th, 25th, there were no fewer blows on Ukraine during this month. That's what I wanted to say. And so they can increase the blows on energy and reduce on civil infrastructure, not because they want to. They want to beat us. They have this number, we understand it. That's why we understand approximately the number of drones and missiles used by the Russian side per day. And we clearly record this statistic. They use the same number. What is this ceasefire? This is a lie again. The number of people injured in this war, the number of people killed, is it less or more? It's a statistic. When we talk about statistics, in general, when people say that they support the ceasefire, we all have to... I understand it's a war, so we are not talking about the military now. We all are, for a second. Because they are fighting. And there are losses, unfortunately. But if they say about the ceasefire, about civil infrastructure, about energy, what's the difference? But if the number of people killed and injured is more, the direction is changing, then what kind of ceasefire is it? We have to stop, I would like to say in their language, to lie. I'll say it in Ukrainian. Thank you. The ceasefire regime is a lie. They need it.
Mr. President, I congratulate you. I hope you can hear me. I have two short questions. First, about the ceasefire agreement. In the latest project, there are words that mean that the former aid of Ukraine is the debt of Ukraine, which Ukraine has to return. Secondly, the topic of China and the Russian military aid to China returns. Could you tell us more about it?
Thank you for the question. As for China, unfortunately, I'm not surprised, but I didn't want to see the facts that we saw and that I saw. I had a conversation with the Chinese leader during the war, and I asked him directly about arms. He promised me that he wouldn't sell or send arms to Russia. Unfortunately, we see different information now. In any case, we already have facts about this work of China and Russia to strengthen their defense capabilities. These are bad facts. In my opinion, one thing is when there is an open market or a non-open market, let's say, where arms are sold. One thing is when there is production in these markets. China and Russia bought it, or another country sold it. But there are arms of other countries. Another thing is when it's not just some smuggling, when we see the fact of cooperation in this direction, in these two countries. To be honest, this is what it is. We have to recognize it. As I said, we can use some documents and we will be able to transfer them next week. As for the agreements, today there is nothing to discuss about real agreements, serious agreements, final agreements, which should be ratified by the Parliament, because lawyers work there. As I said, they work productively. There can't be any debt issues there.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. I would like to ask you about the last Russian ballistic missile strikes on Kryvyi and Sumy. Can our partners help us to find out the location of the Russian ballistic weapon to destroy it before the strikes on our peaceful cities take place? Thank you.
We don't receive any additional information about ballistic missiles. Our partners provide us with solutions. We understand the direction and we understand that there are ballistic missile solutions. We have intelligence and we have a lot of help. Why did everyone get nervous when there was a risk of a long freeze or transfer of intelligence to the American side? Because the American side helps us to tell our people that it's ballistic. Do you understand? I'm telling you frankly, we work and we know a lot of different information. To be honest, we are interested in this direction. We don't have this direction. We don't see when the ballistic missile comes out. Our partners help us. To be honest, they help our civilians. It's a matter of protection for the state. It's a big humanitarian mission. It's a matter of ballistic missiles. It's important for us. You know, the closer to the front, the less time we have. In cases like Kryvyi, there would be more of them. Without this intelligence, a lot of ballistic missiles get shot down. thanks to different systems, especially Patriot. So, when we talk about the limited number of missiles, everything is fine now. But when we know that there can be a risk of missile and data limitation, it's the biggest risk for our people. We won't be able to tell them that the ballistic missile is flying. We won't see it. Thank you. Thank you. Then Al Jazeera. You should know that we don't talk much. The armed forces of Ukraine, to be honest, destroy a lot of PPO enemies. The PPO system, S-400 and others are really destroyed. It's a difficult job. It's the right result. It's the right job. And, you know, 225 systems, if you are interested, were in Ukraine in 1992. 225 systems of air defense. In 2019, I think there were more than 60. Most of the systems went somewhere, I don't know where. In the period of 2000 to 2019, in this period, until 2000, there were 168 to 169. There were less, but there were 170 systems. And in the next years, until 2019, we have more than 60 systems, 225 and 60. Why am I talking about it? Not because of who gave them to us, sold them, stole them. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that we have to understand what was the purpose of Ukraine. For what? To understand what was the purpose of Russians. That's what I'm talking about. Do you understand? Because our systems went not only somewhere there, to the Middle East, and to Russians as well. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say how many systems we have today. These numbers are vague. Please.
Mr. President, I congratulate you. Ilya Novikov, Associated Press. I want to ask a question on a similar topic, about the attack on civilian cities that took place last week. Kryvyi Sumy. At night there was an attack on Dnipro. The reaction of the White House to this attack is clearly inconsistent. Donald Trump, in response to journalists about the attack on Sumy, said it was a mistake, but did not specify what he meant. How do you assess the lack of a clear reaction? And also, in your opinion, what is the reaction? What is the position of the U.S. towards the Kremlin? Thank you.
There was a reaction from the State Secretary Rubio. He had a clear reaction. He was convicted. And we are grateful for such a reaction. There was a more serious reaction from many of our partners, where the number was judged, and it was said who the Russians were after that. There was a more subtle reaction of the American politicians. You know, it is different. I think that a subtle reaction of the administration is a continuation of the current policy. I think they believe that such diplomacy, this format, works to end the war. I can characterize it this way. A mistake, excuse me, to call this special operation of the Russians a mistake cannot be called a mistake. Let me explain why. We aim at this person, or we aimed at the child, and we hit her mother. Excuse me, this is a murder, and this blow went here, to the center. It did not go to the front. And to tell stories like I hit the front, But this is a mistake. Excuse me. We cannot find an excuse when you hit the center of the city with a missile, and not only with it, but if not only, it is not a mistake. And also, I remember, I think it was in Suman, a cassette story. This is the answer. When do cassette things apply? When do we want to strike? What blows? What losses do we want from the other side?
Mr. President, do you think that the pressure and support of European countries, especially Britain, France, Germany, will be enough today to push Russia to the end of this war compared to the more or less soft position of the United States?
I think so. We should do not only thank for the strong support of Europe, and that we have defrosted the aid and distribution of the United States to America. We are grateful that it works. Is this enough to end the war? I think not, and my partners will not be offended. Because if it was enough, the war would be over. At least there would be a ceasefire. If the pressure is not enough, the Russians can continue the war as they have done.
I will continue in English. You have just mentioned that there is an attack on the Sumy, Kharkiv, and Zaporizhia regions. According to your intelligence data, what are the strategic goals of the Russian army in the spring and summer? Can you tell in more detail what their intention is, how far they want to get, and do you think that American and European partners will react accordingly? According to the narrative.
They live in, even some of our partners, in the 6 regions of our country, including Crimea. We should understand where the main directions of their operations will be aimed. And where they are already aimed, where these operations are taking place, and where not yet. That is, we already understand the main directions. Then we should have a strong position during the talks, namely the position of pressure on us. It is to have an alliance at the table of talks with other states, as well as success in all these regions, which are already temporarily occupied and which are partially. In order to have such pressure, we need to seize more territory, as I have already said a little earlier, more square kilometers of land in order to pressure Ukraine about these regions. These regions, you see, and we can analyze what they are. That is, it is not very difficult. In addition, of course, they want to achieve this goal, but to achieve this goal, they need to act in other directions to demonstrate to some of our partners. Unfortunately, we want them to be very close to us. We think they should pressure Russia more, but to demonstrate to them that Russia is a country of compromises. To do this, they will use desires. They want to use success in other territories. And here we are already talking about such territories as Sumy, where there is a large accumulation of military forces, why they act in this direction. And they also shoot at Chernihiv accidentally. Today, we do not allow to concentrate enough troops against Chernihiv, enough against Kharkov, enough against Zaporizhia. We do not allow to concentrate enough troops for the Russians for a full-fledged offensive. That's why they have a wave. Although opposite the Sumy direction, you know that there is a large encirclement, more than 60,000 Russians. That's how it is. Here are the main directions. Their political voices coincide with their actions on the battlefield. Our task is not to give them an opportunity. For this, we need help. The second part of the question was just about help. European help. Is it enough? Well, I partially said that if it was enough, we would have finished. It is not enough. But to say that we have a deficit of large artillery today, I would not say. We have it, but we distribute it very correctly. We began to produce it ourselves. Not bad. Russians run on the ceiling, as they say, because they shoot at our factories. And not just like that. We, I think, work systematically to reduce the deficit of artillery. We need to close this gap. And this is an important track for us. The second story is drones, where we can be helped more. Europeans can give more financing directly to our private sector. It would help a lot, and it really helped us. Well, really, it was the 24th year. Very difficult, but drones really helped. Very much. Drones, domestic production, because they became an alternative to the deficit of artillery shell. We had a large production of drones, several million. I said 1,000,000, 1.5 million we will do it, and we did it. Several million. We have serious results, twice as much as promised. But it is important that it was able to stop them. Well done, guys. A large number of our groups, our battalions, well done. Operators, just well done. It gives an opportunity to hold on. But how long can we hold on? We need to help a little our partners. We see determination in today's words and in the voice of the German side. And I really hope for a strong help, and there is already financing, and we hope for more help regarding the PPO and other instruments that we will not mention now. As for Britain and France, they help a lot. Northern Europe a lot. I am grateful to them. Norway, Denmark, Sweden, they finance a lot, directly our drone companies. But we have to admit that in terms of assistance, I think this will be the main answer. Our domestic sector today is loaded with 60% of our capabilities, only 60%. 40% today has no financing. This does not mean that there was 100%. There was 10%. Today, we have really expanded a lot, and this would help a lot Ukrainian defense capabilities if we found additional financing for all 100% of our production capabilities.